the Excellence in Leadership series, Relating to Others. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer and author of Mastering Confidence. And I am here today to talk to you about one of those important skills in leadership, which is learning to relate well to others. But what I know about you probably is that if you're here, good on you. But most of you are running around chasing fires, solving everybody else's problems, never getting to the work that you really want to do, never finding the time to develop yourself, grow your team, do that important, meaningful work that takes you closer to the reason you got involved in it. And you get a little bit frustrated with that and it gets you down. I give you the inner and outer tools to turn that around so you can move from surviving to thriving in both leadership and life. Today, as I said, we're going to talk about this skill of relating. And before we get there, I just want you to pop a comment in if you're on live or if you're following and tell me where it is you are listening from. I want to know which part of the world you are tuning in. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pop on over into my Confident Women Leaders group. So the Confident Women Leaders group is a private Facebook page, and it is, I'm just double checking that I have my phone off because I have troubles with internet. The private Facebook page is a group of, women leaders who are looking to grow and develop themselves and be their best self in their leadership and in their life, but maybe struggling a little bit, looking for a network of other women to lean into, to learn from, to grow with. And that's what this group is all about. So I'm going to share this in there. Give me a second. Takes me a minute to get my other computer all ready to roll. Share into a group. So after I'm done today's session, I will pop back and I will add a link to the Confident Women Leaders group for you so that you can join that if you're not already a part of it. And just need to shut the internet off on this computer so that I don't fight for internet. I seem to be doing that a lot lately. Okay, so we have talked about what we're going to talk about today. We've talked about the Confident Women Leaders group. Some of you, I hope, are putting comments in about where you're calling or watching from today, and I will check those and give you a thumbs up after too, because I want to know where you're calling from. I want to know, how far this is reaching. With that, if you find some of the information on today helpful, please share this. Share this with other women you know who can benefit from it. Share it in your work environment. Share it on your Facebook page. Share it on Twitter. Whatever you want to do, share it if you think it's helpful. Because as I have said, I think there's many women going through this sort of leadership experience, struggling, feeling isolated and alone, and some days just feeling like you're surviving. And what I want you to do is do more than survive in leadership. I want you to thrive. I want you to do this amazing thing that you've gotten the opportunity to do and feel good about doing it. So again, if you are here joining me, tell me where you're joining me from and share this if it's helpful to you. So over the last few weeks, I've been talking about the skills that it takes to become that exceptional leader, that excellent leader, that effective leader. And the reason I kind of started this Excellence in Leadership series was as I've gone through the content over the last few months, as I've been talking to you about, if you're frustrated, if you're not happy, part of that is likely that you're not being your best self and you're not having the impact you want. We got into leadership probably because we started in a frontline position. We loved the work we were doing. We were good at it. We moved up the ladder and suddenly we're in this new position where we're like, I feel way in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody's taught me this stuff. Nobody's helping me out. And you're starting to unravel. And so what I've suggested you do is take a step back and do some planning, make a decision about what are the things that I want to develop myself? How do I want to grow? You can blame your boss or your board or your organization for not training you properly. You can feel like that victim because you're constantly feeling like you're scrambling and not having the credibility to do your work. And your confidence continues to fade, and you can continue to wait for somebody to give you training. You can continue to, wait for your boss to say, this is something you should do. Here's the opportunity. And in truth, chances of that happening probably aren't that great, because your organization is probably as busy as everybody else's, and your boss is probably busy too. Take it into your own hands. Be responsible. We've talked about that. Responsibility is being responsible. Choose how it is you want to grow and develop. Decide what parts of this you're struggling with and what you need to do to be a better leader, and then make a plan to do that. So when I started talking about all that stuff, what I realized was many of you aren't quite sure, because you've never had the leadership training. You're not quite sure what the skills are that you need to work on most first. What is it that you need to develop to be that most effective leader? So I am going through in these sessions the skills it takes to be an effective leader. And I'm using, let me grab my notes here. So one of the tools that I use is called the Leadership Circle Profile. And if you've been involved in my Women with Grit program, you will have gone through the Leadership Circle. And it's a 360 profile that gets information from your peers, your boss, your subordinates, your colleagues, those people that you work with. And it comes back and gives you a sense of, how do I show up as a leader? What's the impact I'm having? I mean, this is the impact I think I'm having, and maybe other people think a little bit differently, or maybe not. But it gives you a sense of how you're showing up as a leader in the areas that most effective leaders are skilled at. So what are those most effective areas, right? That's what I'm going through today. As I'm going through this, just trying to think in my head what else I want to tell you. Women with Grit program. So I mentioned that the women that are involved in my Women with Grit program go through the Leadership Circle profile, which is where I'm getting the information from today. So Women with Grit is a 6-month program that helps women leaders look at, where am I now? What's the impact I'm having? Where do I want to be? How do I want to show up as a leader? What's the impact I want to have on my team? Where do I want to take our team to? And sort of, what's that gap in the middle? What are the skills I'm struggling with? What are the things that I need to do within me? This is a personal development course around leadership. Hey, Stacy, nice to see you. This is a course around growing yourself from the inside out. And so if that's something you're interested in, again, when I'm done, I will share the link to the Women with Grit program. So let me see if I've covered everything. Oh, same thing. The other thing I want to tell you is, as per usual, I have a guide sheet for today. So every time I do a Facebook Live session, I do a worksheet for you, and those can be found at silverrivercoaching.com/guides. And so there is one for today as well. So I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I just want to make sure that you know that's there. So last 2 weeks, we've talked about, I'm jumping over to my notes because I have tons of notes for this kind of stuff, and you're just going to have to work with me, because I got to go back to them, because I'll never remember all of this stuff. So 2 weeks ago, I talked about achieving results. One of the skills that most effective leaders do is they achieve results, right? We talked about this, achieving the right results in the right way for the right reason. Why are you achieving those results? What kind of results are you getting? And how are you doing that? I mean, you cannot do that at the cost of your team. You have to achieve those results in a way that continues to grow and develop your team and move it forward. So that was 2 weeks ago. Then the second sort of set of skills that we talked about was systems awareness. And systems awareness is being able to step back and get that wider and broader perspective. Too many of us are head down, focused on the problem in front of us, putting out the fire of the day, and never sort of stepping back and looking at, okay, what else is going on around me and in front of me and way out there? And systems awareness takes a look at how all of those systems are intermixed and intermingled. HR is connected to accounting, and accounting is connected to IT, and all of that is connected to the frontline workers. All of that's connected to the bigger community. That's connected to that, to that, to that, to that, right? That's that systems awareness. And we need to look at, having this broader, wider view, not just my team, my staff, my site, my, day. We need to have this broader view, and then we need to also look long term. What's that legacy impact I'm having on the community I serve? Which means you have to come back and look at, what is the community I serve? What are their needs? How can I help them? So those are the first two skills we talked about. Again, systems awareness and achieving results. today we're talking about relating. So again, I got to shift notes here so that I make sure that I'm on track. All right, so leaders who are good at relating have the capacity to relate well to others, build teams, collaborate, and develop people. So you can see this is all about those relationship stuff. It's important that as a leader, we develop relationships. I think what we often struggle with, again, as we move from frontline into leadership, is we go from that place of, being a coworker and being part of a team to suddenly being the leader. And what we have this tendency to do is sort of cut ties, right? I'm not their friend anymore. I'm not their colleague side by side. I'm their boss. And so we kind of start to separate ourselves and we get into this task mode. And so it's, got to get this done on time, go to this meeting, do all this. And the truth is, an effective leader balances both task and relationship. So we're talking about achieving those results, having that systems focus, but at the same time, having strong relationships with your team. So when you do that, what you're focusing on is bringing out the best in your employees, in your team, in your organization. And we're looking at focusing on people, on growing people, and sort of finding their full potential and building their strengths and utilizing their current strengths so that as a team, you're growing and developing. That's about relationship skills. When you're good at relating, you intentionally focus on people. Again, you have to come back to sort of shifting away from the task at hand, the things that we have to do, the to-do list, the meeting, the email, the report, the next sort of project that you're working on. And we also at the same time have to have a focus on, but we're also working with a bunch of people. These are human beings who have their own needs and own desires and own wishes and own strengths and own problems. And we have to come back to that and recognize that at times. And so you have to realize that when you develop the skill of becoming a better relator, developing better relationships with your team, not only does that individual's capacity develop and grow, but so does the team's. And so when you keep that bigger picture in your mind, you're realizing, I have to see these people as people. I have to grow these individuals so that our team grows, right? And where we sometimes struggle is that we kind of see this as a tool or a weapon. I'll be nice to them because it'll get me something, or I know I'm supposed to do this. I used to have somebody who supervised me who always made a point of sort of smiling, but it was a fake smile. And I was like, really? Somebody's told you along the way that you're supposed to smile? And I just didn't feel it. It didn't feel genuine. And that's the whole point about building relationships. It has to feel genuine. You have to be doing this because you care about the person. Let me look at my notes. So a leader who is good at relating is warm and inviting, open and respectful, empathetic and compassionate. Now, some of you are going, yeah, that's kind of the soft side of things. Hey, Tricia, nice to see you joining us too. So that's kind of that soft side of things, right? Like, I mean, we can, develop these warm, caring relationships with people, but I got to get stuff done too, and that can get in the way of things. And that's where this skill of relating is incredibly important. Sometimes what we find is instead of developing this strong relationship skill, we tend to comply. We're more worried about making people happy. We're more worried about pleasing people. And when we start doing that, we have this tendency to focus on getting along with people. So we'll sugarcoat messages. We will play it safe. We won't share our thoughts or opinions. We'll avoid conflicts. That's not those strong relationship skills. That's that sense of complying and pleasing and just going along to get along. That's not what I'm talking about here. We have to shift that and be able to develop these strong relationship skills despite having conflict, in the face of adversity, when we're stressed and challenged, and still move things forward that maybe aren't easy things to move forward. If you're not complying and being a people pleaser, Where you might also be is that controlling aspect. And when you're controlling, you're not asking for others' opinions. You're taking charge. You're probably speaking bluntly and directly. You might have a tendency to get defensive. So if somebody offers you feedback or a suggestion, you push it away and push them back. And again, that's not growing and developing the relationship, right? That's pushing people away, saying you're smarter, better, higher than them. So when we're looking at developing these relationship skills, there's 5 skills that I want to talk about as soon as I have a drink. So again, as I'm having a drink, share in the comment box where you're connecting from, because I think it's cool for us to all see where other people are listening in from. And I have this kind of goal to see how far I can get these Facebook Lives in the world, right? Let's see how far we can stretch these. So again, if this information is helpful to you, share it as well so that other people can start listening too. All right. So the 5 skills that are going to help you be better at building relationships with your team. The first one is caring and connection. So that's that ability to form warm and caring relationships. And it's about actually what I said earlier, caring deeply. This isn't, saying, hey, how you doing? And just continuing to walk. This is actually saying, hey, how's it going? And having compassion for people. It really is connecting from the heart. And I think sometimes we connect from the head. I know that I'm supposed to do the rounds and check on my staff. I'm supposed to go from door to door. I know I should, phone and see how they're doing. I know we have to have staff meeting once a month, whatever. But do you care? Do you really care? I mean, when something goes wrong for people, are you there to listen? Are you able to put aside some of those things sometimes to sort of accept that this is a human being with their own problems? Those leaders who develop this skill of relating to others are able to develop those warm and caring bonds, and that's something that's really important. The second one, they foster team play. It's not all about me, and it certainly isn't all about you. It's all about us, right? The key, though, and I come back to what I talked about a couple weeks ago, it's fostering team play while achieving high results. We're not looking for mediocre. We're not looking to sort of get by. We're looking to do some incredible things as a team. I know that that's what you want for your team. I know that you want to see your team, excel at whatever it is you're doing. Fostering team play means you take that team and you work with them so that you can get those high results. It's about, promoting that teamwork. It's about creating that morale and that climate on your team so that you can get to that point. And it's about sharing leadership. You're not the smartest one on the bunch, despite the title you have. Other people have some incredible skills. Other people have information, skills, experience, knowledge, ideas that maybe you don't have. There's times where you're going to have to step back and let somebody else do something. That, again, doesn't mean that they take over your job and do everything. But what it means is that you share that responsibility. It means that you delegate and then step back and let them do their job and not micromanage, right? It means that you let people on your team take roles in different committees or projects and let them do that. Teach them how to do that, show them how to do that, but give them the space to do it. That's fostering team play. Third one, so caring and connection, fostering team play. Third one is collaborator. The ability to engage others in a manner that allows parties involved to discover common ground in conflict situations. Common ground in conflict situations. When we're good at collaborating, when we come to the table with a whole bunch of different parties, that means we come to the table with tons of different ideas, tons of different perspectives, a mixed bag of values. Everybody else has a different vision in mind. How can you find that common ground? That's not always an easy skill. I think about the people who are doing mediation work or conflict resolution work, or man, you're just sitting in the room with 2 staff who are not getting along. How do you find common ground? That's that collaborating skill. And this might be something that you're going, I'm not so sure I'm skilled at this. Might be something to put on your list of, this is an area I need to look into more. This is an area I need to grow in. And again, I'm getting these skills from the Leadership Circle profile, and the women who are involved in Women with Grit program get to do this assessment where they go through these and look at how am I doing in these skills? How does the people that I'm involved with see me as a collaborator? Am I good at collaborating? Do I suck at it? Where can I improve? Collaborating means, again, that you stop to find the common ground. That means you have to listen. You have to get curious. You have to not always want to put your opinion out there, but step back and let other people put their opinion out there and listen to that sort of between the lines messages. What's that person really saying? Paraphrasing and pulling out some of the words and seeing if you can, take what he's saying and she's saying and go from, sort of me and I to we. And that's that collaborating piece. Caring and connection, fostering team play, collaborating. Third one is mentoring and developing. So again, if you want to develop those skills around creating really good relationships in your team, being a really good relator on your team as a leader, the fourth one that you need to look at is mentoring and developing. And that's the ability to develop others through maintaining growth-enhancing relationships and development plans. If you got my newsletter today, you read that I think there's two main jobs of a leader. The first one is to grow yourself. The second one is to grow other people. That's the bottom line. If you're growing yourself, you're developing all of these skills. If you're growing other people, you're also developing them. You're helping them to reach their full potential. And when you help the members of your team reach their full potential, let me tell you, your team is going to flourish. You're going to go from that place where you're struggling and maybe everybody's not getting along and you're not really achieving the way you want to achieve, to knocking it out of the park. When you start to grow and develop your team, when you see them as people and you care about them, and then you kind of look at them and you go, what are your skills? What's your potential? Where do you need some help? And how can we do that? And then you come back to them and you have that conversation about, here's what I'm noticing. What are you looking to grow and develop in yourself? Where do you need that? And then mentoring them along. I said earlier, one of the things that we do is we share leadership. You have to sort of, go down the line and go, who's got some potential for leadership? How can I give them opportunities to see if they really do and maybe grow that and develop that? That's that mentoring and developing. Give them some feedback. Send them on training when the opportunity arises. Share that insights and knowledge that you have and sort of give that to them as well. All right, if this is making sense, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, pop them in below and I'll answer them as I'm going along. I don't mind answering questions. I get on a roll and I tend to ramble along, but yeah, if you have questions, ask them. And if you're following the replay after, certainly ask questions and I'll pop back in and answer them as well. So again, the 5 skills of a leader who's good at relating. We've talked about caring and connection, fostering team play, collaborating, mentoring and developing, and we are moving on to the last one, which is interpersonal intelligence. Now, if you've followed my work, you've heard me talk about emotional intelligence, that ability to both understand your own emotions and manage your own emotions, that ability to have social intelligence, which is understanding the moods and the feelings of other people, and then interacting with those moods and feelings of those other people. That's what interpersonal intelligence is. I need a drink, 2 seconds. It's measuring the effectiveness with which you engage, listen, engage in conflict and controversy, deal with feelings of others, and manage your own feelings. The word feelings came up there a few times. Emotions. We have this tendency in leadership to not talk about emotions, try and suppress them all the time. We don't want to feel things. We certainly don't want to talk about what we feel. And, it's okay to talk about the good stuff. And maybe it's okay to say, I'm having a shitty day or this sucks. But to actually get to that next level feeling, most of us don't want to go there. And yet, the most effective leaders, those ladies who are making the biggest difference, having the biggest impact, are able to look at their own feelings and go, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm feeling embarrassed, I'm feeling threatened, and then manage that, right? If you've read my book, Mastering Confidence, the first chapter talks about a story where I was sitting in a staff meeting and somebody pushed my buttons. And what did I do? Fight or flight, right? Well, I actually did both. First, I pushed back. I, didn't have that emotional intelligence at the time to recognize that my buttons were pushed. I wasn't able to regulate that anger that was boiling up in me. And so what did I do? I just turned around and gave it right back at her, let me tell you. When you can learn to feel that anger bubbling up in you and learn to manage it, you're going to develop more of that interpersonal intelligence. And when you do that, you start to relate differently to others. And so you take responsibility for your part in things. You don't get defensive. Instead, you're able to take criticism and feedback and, take it openly and hear it for what it is. Maybe it's not all true. Maybe it's not all right. But you can certainly take that information and listen to it. You get really good at conflict resolution. And I think, again, one of the most important things here is that when you are interpersonally intelligent, you listen and tune in, both to you and to what's going on around you. So when you're sitting at staff meeting or you're having a conversation with a staff, or, there's something going on, you can kind of step back for a minute and go, look what's going on here, right? This person's angry at that person. Or even though that person says they're okay, I know there's something going on underneath. And that comes back to all of these other skills we're talking about, which says, then you go to that person and check in, right? You don't just push it aside and say, well, it's their problem. They'll get over it. Next week we'll move on and we'll forgotten about this. No, you actually check in. So I wanted to talk about 7 statements or questions that you might use to help you with this. One of those is, I'm curious about your perspective. So when you're sitting down and talking with people, when you're in a group, when you're working in a team, that you actually ask for other people's opinions. How do you see this? What's your perspective on this? What do you think? What's the way you see it from your position? I mean, I'm over here in management. I know what IT thinks about it, but you're the one out there in the field doing the work. How does it work for you, right? Check in with them. Thanks for your contribution. We don't often give each other enough feedback about the work that they're doing. And so when we take the time to say thanks for your contribution and then add to that what that contribution was, it's really clear about what skills they used, where we're growing and developing them, how they're being a part of the team. Thanks for taking over for Cindy when she didn't have time to do that. Thanks for, doing that development of that form because you're really good at Excel. Whatever it is, right? That you acknowledge that. Third thing you might say to somebody is, how can I best support you? When we're looking at, taking them from where they are, looking at their potential, looking at their skills, looking what's going on in them, and, wanting to help them grow and develop, how can I best support you in that journey? How can I take you from where you are and move you forward, right? What is it that you need? Where can I give you the time, the resources, the skills, the support? What is it that you need to be your best self? Tell me more. Great question to ask, right? When somebody puts their idea out there, let's be honest, it's a vulnerable place to be to share your opinion or idea. And where most people are probably going to be is scared, a little bit unsure of how it's going to land. And so my guess is they're probably going to share about this much, and they're going to kind of tentatively put it out there. Your job as a leader is to then say, tell me more. I want to hear that. Get curious, dig a little deeper. When you create that safe space, they're going to share more. And you're going to hear not just the tip of the iceberg, but you're going to share way more information that can help your team grow and develop, help you move forward, and probably grow and develop that person even more. how can we improve? So when you're looking at, as a team, using the people in your team to grow and develop so that you get to those high achieving results, when you say, how can we improve? What you're doing is saying that person's feedback's valuable. They have something valuable to contribute. And I'm asking for it because I want them. I want them to feel a valuable member of the team. I want them to feel that they can contribute and that we need them to contribute. That's something that's really important. The best way to lose people is to make them feel not valued. The best way to have people either disengage in your team or go find another job is to make them feel that they don't matter. And so when you say, I want your opinion, they feel like they actually matter. And then this last question I think is really important. How are you really? Right? We walk into the office all the time. We're like, hey, how you doing? Good, fine, okay. But really, how are you? That requires you to sit down, lean in, listen, be warm, be caring, be compassionate, be present. You can't be checking email and asking somebody how they're doing at the same time. That's not going to create the connection that you want. You have to tune everything out for a minute and say, hey, how are you really doing? How's that going for you? When you can do that, that's going to move you forward. So those are the 5 skills that you need to work on developing and enhancing to be a more effective relationship sort of leader, one that has strong relationship skills, good at relating to others, carrying connection, foster team play, being good at collaborating, finding that common ground, mentoring and developing your team, looking at where they are and what they can grow into, and then having that interpersonal intelligence, not being afraid of emotions, not being afraid of feelings, not being afraid of looking at what's really going on under the surface of your team. So again, this is the 3rd one that we've talked about as we've gone through the Excellence in Leadership series. There's a couple more to go, so keep tuned in the next couple weeks. The worksheet for today, I gotta find it, is called Relating to Others. Surprise, surprise. So again, you can find the worksheet for today at silverrivercoaching.com/guides. And when you pop over there, you can download the worksheet called Relating to Others. And what I want you to do is go through the questions. There's 5 questions there. And I want you to pick out 2 staff members in mind or 2 people that you work with and start to look at what are their strengths. How can we use that more effectively? I want you to start seeing this person as an individual, seeing how they can contribute to the team and seeing how you can do that, or so how you can grow them and develop them. How can you contribute to their growth? What can you do to help them be a better individual, better worker, better employee, better person, right? What can you do to help them? And that's going to help you be a better leader. So what else do I want to say? If there's any questions, again, pop them in below. I will answer them. Again, the stuff that I'm talking about comes from the Leadership Circle profile, and Bob Anderson's book, Mastering Confidence, really goes, or Mastering Leadership, my book's called Mastering Confidence. Mastering Leadership really goes through these skills in more depth. So if you're looking for a really theological book about leadership, that's a good one to read, a little bit deep, but definitely a place to look. The Leadership Circle is the tool that I use with the women that go through my Women with Grit program to help them get a really good starting point of how do I show up as a leader? What's the impact I'm having? How does my team see me? Is it the same way that I see myself? And it gives us that place for you to start and go, okay, that's where I am. Where do I want to be? What are the skills that I need to develop to get there? How do I develop those skills? And so the things that we're talking about here in the Excellence in Leadership series helps you look at some of those skills to kind of go, oh, hadn't thought about that, or how am I doing at that? And, maybe check in and go, where can I develop more skills in that area, or how can I be better at that? So again, I will share all of the links when we're done today to the Confident Women Leaders Group, to Women with Grit program. I will share the link to get the guide sheets. I will share the link to get some more stuff on the Leadership Circle. If I miss a link, let me know. I'll put it in after. Catch me next Thursday as well at 12:15, and we will continue this Excellence in Leadership series. And I think that's it for today, ladies. Thanks for joining me. I know that you want to sort of move from that surviving to thriving. I know that you want to be your best self, be the best person you can be while you lead, as you achieve some pretty cool results. And I'm here to help you on that journey. Again, I give you those inner and outer tools so you can move from surviving to thriving in both leadership and life. Thanks, ladies. Talk to you next week.